time for some more driving tips, and today we are going to talk about a very specific kind of corner, the typical short chicane with high curves and very short radius, like the one you're seeing right now in this footage. It's very important to master this kind of corner because of two reasons. There's at least one of these in almost every single racetrack, and also there's a lot of time to gain by getting them right. Of course, not all of them are equal. The shape of the track and the height of the curves changes depending on which one we talk about, but there are a couple of very useful guidelines that help understanding how to tackle them all. It is worth mentioning that the car you drive plays a huge role on how much you can push your luck on these corners. An example, these two tricky chicanes at shoulder are relatively easy in a GT car, but can be a nightmare if you drive something lower and stiffer, like a prototype or a single-seater. Now, let's be a bit more specific explaining the situation in which the tips we'll see are likely to help you. With road cars and very low curves like the one in project cars for NGK chicane at Nürburgring, only the white lines will stop you from doing whatever you feel like. So the tips we'll talk about will not help here. With other combos, like a Formula car at Monza, the curves are so high for your car that the track limits are crystal clear, and riding the curves is not even an option. But most times the curves are low enough to be used, but high enough to bite you if you get them wrong. It's here where these tips come into play, and where you can make a huge difference with your driving. This combo you see is a pretty good example of this situation. The LMP2 cars can drive over these curves in Barcelona Sector 3, but only if you attack them properly. If you keep having problems here, you can make a lot of difference with small changes on your driving. This is a small example. You'll be able to see me riding the curves much harder than before when I spun, and still getting out of the corner in one piece, and with a fantastic exit into the main straight too. So let's get going with these tips. First we'll see some tips regarding the racing line you should use in this kind of corners. Let's start with a reminder of a very basic notion. When you are going through a single corner, you should use all the width of the track on corner exit, like I'm going to do here out of Cobb's corner. On the other hand, when you attack a sequence of corners, like the SS ahead, you compromise your exit in every corner except for the last one. You don't use all the width of the track on corner exit until the very last part of the sequence, because you need to have a good entry for the next turn. And then, when you finally see the straight in the end of the sector, you try to get a nice slingshot out, using every inch you can. Let's see it with pictures. This is the exit of Cobb's corner, a bit Formula 1 style, making a mockery out of track limits. Then, this is the exit of the first left-hander on the SS. Here I stay completely on the left side to get a decent line for the next turn. After the next right-hander I leave like half the track on my left again to get a nice line for the next corner, and finally, on the last right-hander I do use all the width of the track on corner exit. The left-hander ahead is very easy flat out, so at this point it's not worth compromising the exit. This is a very basic notion, everybody knows about it, but for some reason many drivers forget about it when attacking the kind of chicane we mentioned before. It's very common to see drivers treating both of the apexes the same way, even when they don't have the same importance. Even if the curves are the same height and the corners are the same angle, you should not attack both apexes the same way. The second one is far more important, as it will determine your speed all the way down the next straight. So that's the one you really want to nail. Now, to explain this in detail, we'll use Variante Alta chicane in Imola. First, let's see how it looks when you get it right from the chase camera. Now, let's see it in slow motion. You can see that I attacked the first curve really hard, using even the yellow part of the curve, which is really high. For this car, this is a very high level of aggression. But for the second apex, I won't do that. I'll barely touch the red and white curve, and I'll avoid upsetting the car here, all for the sake of good traction and a nice exit speed. Now we will see it from the cockpit camera. This is how you want to take these corners. And this is what you should avoid. Now let's see it in slow motion to see what the problem is. I am going to attack the first apex really hard again, and I'll get airborne for a fraction. At this point it doesn't really matter too much as long as I still get a nice line for the next speed. But now I am going to take the same approach for the second apex. I take off again, but at this point it's really going to hurt my speed badly. I should be really hard on the power here, but I can't because I have a rear wheel in the air. Until the car lands and stops bouncing, I won't be able to put the car's power down. Whatever time I gain with a shorter line, I lose it all in this next straight. Sometimes you'll find yourself struggling on one of these corners, and you'll see other drivers sailing over them safely. It's very easy putting it all down to better damper settings, which can help, but your actions behind the wheel have a huge influence on how your car reacts over these high curves. Again, with road cars, stock cars, or maybe even GT cars, this is not something that is going to matter too much, as these obstacles are no big deal for them. However, with prototypes and single-seaters, that's not the case. So, how are you supposed to drive over curves? This is a very complicated topic, but let's try to visualize it this way. Think of a curve as a small ramp. If you drive over a ramp and you are traveling on a straight line at constant speed and without turning at all, you are very likely to land properly. If you hit a ramp sideways, turning hard, or while you are getting wheel spin, your car is very likely to rotate while it is in the air. So keep this in mind. The less effort you are asking from your car as you hit the curve, the safer you will be when you land. All I can do to help you improving in this area is suggesting the combo we saw before. Drive the Formula Renault around Imola. This is probably the stiffest car in the game and it really hates curves. But Imola demands you to ride them, otherwise you are throwing away lap time. This combo requires you to find a very fine line and understand really well what you can and what you cannot do over curve. If you avoid them, you will have far less space to play with, giving you bad lines. If you use them while your car is on the limit, sooner or later you are going to get into trouble. And it is not just Variante Alta, there are many corners out there where you will need to find a good compromise. After a while, you will find yourself making the most out of the track. In the end, if you are having problems with a curve, there are only two potential solutions. One is avoiding it and using all of your car capabilities in the tarmac. The other one is to ride it with your car in a more steady state. Making the right call for every corner is something that will take time and practice, but this is something that you will have to work out by yourself. The topic is far too complicated for golden rules, but the gains you can make by improving in this area are really big for certain cars. And that's all for this topic. I hope you find the video helpful and now I'll leave you with the rest of the lab. As always, thanks a lot for watching.